You think you've reached the end of Netflix, huh? Well, guess what? Netflix has no end. And with ExpressVPN, they definitely will make sure of that. I don't know if you ever heard of ExpressVPN, but it's basically the best thing that's happened to us since we've been locked down. Okay, so ExpressVPN is an app where you can access all sorts of different Netflix from other countries, like UK Netflix, Japan Netflix, all the kinds of Netflixes you have not Netflixed yet. Does that make any sense? Anyway, what you're going to do is you're going to download the app and you're also going to head over to expressvpn.com/worst. That's expressvpn.com/WORST. You're going to log in and you're going to get 3 months of extra ExpressVPN for free. You're welcome for listening to this podcast. So what you can do is you can watch all kinds of different Netflix from other countries, but not just Netflix. I mean, it works with Hulu, BBC iPlayer, YouTube, you name it. And it's compatible on all your different devices, your iPhone, or you can watch it on the big screen. And don't worry, there's no lagging or buffering or anything like that. It's a great quality service. So do yourself a favor and head over and take advantage of this free situation that I've got for you from Worst First. expressvpn.com/worst and get your streaming on.
And we're live. We're live. I just killed a fucking, I don't know what that was.
Whatever it was.
I was like, here's your headset.
It's some sort of violence.
Punching the wall. Ryan's like, Jesus Christ.
Not sure what this is. Boom, boom, boom.
I just killed something. I don't know what it was.
I'm sure it's dead. That's what it was. What it is.
It looked prehistoric. I don't know what it was. How you doing?
I'm good.
Thanks for coming.
This is great. I miss communicating with people and talking to people. This is really nice.
I love having you here.
Genuinely excited to sit with an old friend and talk for a while.
Yeah, I've known you forever, and you know what's so crazy? You haven't aged. You look the same.
Look at this hair and shit, girl. I didn't used to have that.
But the color's a little different. But you look the same.
That's nice of you to say.
Like your face. You look the same.
Thank you.
And you got thinner.
I did lose weight.
So tell us what's going on. Is it keto?
It's Corona. It's
Did you have the Corona?
No, I did not.
Do you know anybody?
My neighbor is from New Jersey, which was an epicenter, and she had 9 people in her family. Both her parents and 7 aunts, uncles, and cousins had it.
All got it.
All got it. Her mom is still testing positive to this day. So that's what I'm saying. They don't. Now you're seeing this that what is it? If you're not symptomatic, you won't spread or something like that. Where they first thought you would. And so her dad had it. He's clear and not testing anymore. Everyone else in her family no longer tests positive for corona, but her mom still is, and they do it weekly. And she gets the test results 3 or 4 days later. And yeah, she just this week she tested positive again.
Well, we got to put the mom down.
Got to put the mom. That's what I keep saying.
Got to put the mom down.
Can we put you in a sleeper hole for 3-4 days? You know what I'm saying?
We got to keep the mom in the basement. Don't let the mom out. Don't. That's scary. I'm just like, I mean, I guess it's so weird to me still because as soon as all the Black Lives Matter stuff happened, it felt like Corona just disappeared, didn't it?
You didn't hear shit about Corona during
nothing.
Any of that, yeah.
And do you think we're going to see a big uptick in it because of all the people protesting and being around each other?
Well, they already said that. I don't know what the reason is. That if what they're saying about Corona is correct, that's probably the reason we're seeing an uptick and a spike in the numbers, because they are saying that there is a spike in the numbers, but I don't know. I just hope it doesn't come back again when it gets cold. This quarantine shit is too much. Excuse me. It's been a lot. I can see how it got to me. It was in my throat. That's not a Corona cough, by the way. Should I put my mask on? I have 3.
Put all 3 masks.
I put them all on. I just have my eyes.
The rest of the podcast, you're all. Oh my God, Ryan, I love you so much. So Ryan and I have known each other for years. I did his podcast called The HoneyDew.
You did. You had a great episode.
Which I love. You guys got to check out his podcast called The HoneyDew, which is called that because life is something about life being not super sweet, but
just always being overlooked. Like it's a perfectly good fruit that is constantly discarded, thrown away, overlooked.
It's not my favorite.
It's not anyone's favorite. I mean, there are some people out there that do like it, but
you never hear anyone go, honeydew is I fuck with honeydew.
Right.
Like I will choose honeydew.
That's my shit. Honeydew. You talking about honeydew? That's my shit, man. It's only ripe once a month. Well, I mean, 1 month a year is what I've been told. And then people start saying, well, you know what you got to do? You got to wrap that shit up in bacon. I'm like, if you got to wrap anything in bacon, it doesn't fucking taste good.
If you put anything in bacon, it's good.
You're hiding fruit in bacon to help it out. Like, come on.
You could saute a toe and wrap it in bacon. You'd be like, damn, this toe's delicious.
Listen, I can't believe I'm eating human flesh right now, but this motherfucking bacon brings it all together.
You know? Doesn't taste bad. I won't say it tastes bad.
I'm not saying it tastes good, but I'm saying it don't taste bad.
I love you so much. You have the best laugh on the planet. I'm so dead.
Thanks, Britt.
So yeah, so guys, check it.
Pumping me up right now. Feels nice.
I'll pump you up all day, boy. That's all I got going on. Go check out Ryan's podcast, The Honeydew, after you listen to this episode. So Ryan came on today. I kind of wanted to talk about, I mean, obviously everything that's going on is crazy. This is going to come out. This episode is out 2 weeks after all the Black Lives Matter stuff happened. Has that affected you in any way?
I mean, yes, so many ways. In great ways. My stepson is mixed. His dad's black, his mom's white. So I'm happy for him to see real change starting to happen in his young life instead of being 80 some years old. Like, where the fuck has this been the whole time?
Right.
You know, just normalcy.
Right.
And it's important also. My daughter, you know, they're brother and sister. So I want her to see what's going on. And on top of that, the negative side of things that happened were, you know, it was a great peaceful protest in Santa Monica, and the peaceful protest went south, and the people who weren't so peaceful and didn't really care about that went east and looted. And I rent studio space at the Santa Monica Music Center in Santa Monica, California. My friend Lana Negretti's family-owned business. She owns it now. Her dad and uncle owned it for ever 50 years, serving the community. They've got the outreach to the arts programs, all these things that help the community. And unfortunately, they were looted, and they were right there. And we were there. We were pulling equipment out and doing everything we could. And you knew it was going to be taken eventually, and then it just got crazy. So we got out of there, and it did. But there's some GoFundMe set up on all my social media. RyanSickler.com, Ryan Sickler on Instagram, Facebook, all that stuff.
Go check it out.
If you want to help, it's all there. But we're, you know, and my studio now, you know, it's boarded up. So
wow,
I can't get in there like I need to get in there until things are
calm down.
Yeah, and just safe to be in there and not left vulnerable and open.
It's such a bummer. That's the part of it that really is a bummer. And then, you know, people say the argument of, you know, Black lives are more important than things. So like they're like
Michael Che has the best bit about it. He's like, we're just saying Black lives. We're just saying matter.
Yeah, exactly. Tommy posted that.
Yeah,
it was hilarious.
It's
not that they're better than anyone.
It's also embarrassing. He's like, we're just saying, like, we exist.
Yeah, yeah. He's like, what should we say? Black lives are. Yeah, they exist. Yeah. That's what it was. That was so funny. Yeah, I know, it's a shame. But you know what is crazy? As I was reading, everyone's like, "Oh, this is going to be in the history books. Like, it's for sure going to be something one day. People are going to read about the year 2020.
No doubt.
Fucking shit hit the fan.
Yeah, the corona followed by the country in protest. And that's what I told Lana too. Like, it's beautiful messaging on the boards and everything, and we all went and took pictures, and you know that's going to be in history books in the city, and like she has 4 young daughters, and so it's great to see, you know, them empowered. And I told her I love that I work with especially a local female business owner.
Yeah,
I think that's boss, and I love that my money goes to a family that then serves the community, not just some corporate real estate, you know, that I'm paying.
Mogul,
you know, company. So I love everything about it, and we'll be back up and running.
Yeah. So you guys have to go check it out. But
it's fitting. The fans have said it's very fitting that the Honeydew Studio has a Honeydew story to get off the ground. I was like, it's the goddamn
does have
truth.
a Honeydew story. My God. All right. You're like, I'm just gonna move I'm gonna move to a new location in the middle of a fucking pandemic. And also,
I'm coming over here. I could just take that corner over there, Britt.
You got that corner. You got that. You know what was so funny when all this started happening? Everyone in Calabasas started boarding their shit up. I'm like, bitch, nobody wants your
too far to get out.
First of all, way too far. No one gives a fuck about you, Calabasas. You're so self-important. Like, this bitch was like fucking. She basically has this like fucking piece of shit like clothing store that like no one gives a shit. It's not even like nice clothes, and she's fucking boarding it up like, fucking they better not take these clothes I ordered from China for $2.99. I will have it. That will be the day. Like I was like watching her do it. I was like,
my HCDC baby onesies, motherfucker. Hurry up and get them boards up. Hurry up. They're coming up from Long Beach. We got about an hour and a half for the hit here. Hurry up.
I was dying. There was like a person who has like a little cupcake shop where she like never has enough cupcakes. Like there's always like 3 cupcakes. I'm like, is this like a front for something?
God, I hope they don't get here before 3. I hope we got a half a dozen left. I hope they don't get here.
She was boarding her cupcake shop up. I'm like, bitch, you only ever got 3 cupcakes. Like every time I fucking go in there, I've gone in there at noon. I've gone in there at 4. I've gone in there at 10 a.m. Yeah. There's only 3 motherfucking cupcakes always in that case. And she's a cupcake shop? Yeah. Sorry, it's all we got left. I'm that's like, what?
They're flying off the shelves. No, they're not.
I'm like, these were here yesterday. These are the same ones.
Make them fly out of the oven, bitch. You know what I'm saying? It's a cupcake shop.
She's ridiculous. I'm like, how does this bitch pay rent? Like, it's got to be a front for something.
I love thinking that things like that are so back in Maryland, my dad, we used to have this thing where there would be a random dude who would sell flowers off the freeway, but not like here, like rural, way out in the, like, you're like, what are you doing? Like there's like not
3 people
house,
past this road.
Yes.
Yeah.
And my dad's like, that has got to be a front. And I go, what do you mean? He goes, well, like for instance, if you pull up and you say, give me the purple petunias or whatever, he's like, head down about a mile up there and talk to Chico. You know, he'll set you up. All right. I was like, oh.
So he's standing there pretending.
He flipped that in my mind, and I started thinking, oh yeah, like how do these businesses on, Sunset afford it if they're just like, hey, we do business cards? I'm like, how are you still even around anywhere? A business card fucking store? Yeah.
There's a fucking place on Sunset that only sells cowboy boots. I'm like, there's no motherfucker.
Right.
Who the fuck is buying a pair of cowboy boots every day out here?
Every day. Like tons of them. To pay your nut, get the fuck out of here.
On Sunset, next to Pink Dot.
Right,
fucking cowboy boots. I don't know.
That's
dude.
A front.
It's a front,
That's
right?
A front. Whoever you are, we're on you.
We're watching you.
Get my Spurs on. We're sat on up that note, you two.
You two better go into business together because y'all shit's fucked up. I'm just kidding. Anyway, so we're here to talk about your worst experience.
I mean, Nina looks excited about it.
Nina,
she is out. She was sorry, girl.
Yeah. Okay, go back to sleep.
Fuck y'all want. All right, Nina, sit back now.
All right, so we're here to talk about the worst thing that's ever happened to you, and you said one of the worst things.
The worst. It's definitely up there. I'd say it's at this point, it's a tough call. Either way,
it's at least top 70.
Let's not rank the trauma. You know what I'm saying? Let me not dig into my Rolodex and start trying to put a number on each one. A sequential number.
Let's not rank the trauma.
It's up there, though. It's up there. It's so yeah. I said the first time I saw a dead body. Now, the first time I really saw a dead body was my great grandmom, Kugit. She was an Italian lady, and back when they laid him out in the house, in the parlor. Remember that?
Yeah.
And I was a little kid, and they still did that. And I just remember being like, y'all wasn't a dead body and the ham's right
and
here.
And then there's sandwiches and fucking pasta.
Right. Turkey,
and fucking Uncle Tony's fucking having an olive tapenade on a fucking piece of bread.
It's
You're
so
like, what?
Weird. I remember they're like, here's a Cookie Monster stuffed animal to go to sleep. And I was like, this ain't helping.
Right?
So that was the first time I saw a dead body. But the first time I saw one that was not prepared and everything was my father. Yeah. So my dad had just gotten out of the hospital. He was at Johns Hopkins. We're from Maryland, and he was at Hopkins in Baltimore. He had a heart attack, and it was crazy because, I mean, do we have time?
Yeah, go on, get into it.
Let me settle in, sister. So my fans have heard this story, but you definitely have some different fans, which I love.
Yeah.
So
they're like, is this about shopping?
It's about cupcakes and cowboy boots, our new store. So my dad was having, he had a checkup he needed to go to in the city a few days prior to that. And he said and I have a twin brother. And the only reason I mention that is we're fraternal twins. But my dad came to me and said, will you drive me tomorrow? I don't want to drive. We'll pick up grandma, which is his mom, and then we'll go to the doctor in the city. And I was like, yeah. And it wasn't until well after I thought, I started thinking about things like, God, why did he pick me? There were two of us. And why, didn't he drive? My dad always fucking drove.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, this guy's he's having pains. Right. Later, I realized this, but I don't know this. I'm a 16-year-old fucking kid. So we drive, pick up my grandmother who didn't drive, and I'm driving my dad's little Honda Civic. We get downtown. And I told this story before too. So I'm such a stubborn fucking kid at the time. 16, I know everything. And we go to his doctor, and his doctor tells him at that time, you're having a heart attack right now.
Right now?
Right.
He was in the middle of one?
Yeah. And what I didn't know, or any of us really, we all thought a heart attack was when you clutch and then go. But a heart attack, all the symptoms you hear about with the numbness of the jaw, the pain, all that left side, you're having a heart attack. If you're having the symptoms, you're having a heart attack. Those are symptoms of a heart attack. It's building to the crescendo of fucking collapse. And that's if you're lucky where you don't have a massive one. Massive ones are just walking and boom, you're done.
Right.
So, the guy's like, you're having a heart attack right now. So he calls, and his office is right next to Johns Hopkins. So he calls over to the hospital, and he's like, they're waiting on you. They're going to take you in and admit you immediately. So we get in the car, we go around the block, and I'm sure this is the left turn. I'm sure of it because I'm fucking 16, and I grew up in the city. No, I didn't. My dad did. My dad's like, it's not this left, it's the next left. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's this left. He's like, it's not. It's the next left.
He's like, I'm having a heart attack. Will you goddamn just listen to me?
Like, nah, Dad, I'm pretty sure it's this one. He goes, okay. And I made that left, and it was not
the wrong one.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
And now he's punching the fucking dashboard. My grandma's in the back screaming. I'm just like, I'm so sorry. So I got to go around the fucking block again. But this time I'm running lights and shit. We pull up. They're waiting for him out front. And like, that's also how my dad was. My dad was like, you're gonna fucking kill me to make this turn. But I'm telling you, it's the wrong turn. So that was a lesson in listening.
Wow.
So they get him in and they take him upstairs, and my grandmother's a mess. I'm a mess. Like, my brothers don't even know all we have done is go to the doctors in their mind. They're at school. So then we have to call them at school. They get out of school. They're at home. Someone's with them. I don't know. My mom's not around at the time. And I'm there with my grandma. And I just remember looking through the window and just seeing all the tubes. And like, that was the first time, just laying there, I remember ever thinking like, oh man, he's vulnerable. You know what I mean? Like, he's weak right now. And I felt so bad and so sorry for him.
Because even while having a heart attack, he was still fucking.
He's right there with it. Yeah. So he gets through it. He's in the hospital. They let him out. And this was.
What do they do? I'm sorry. I know maybe you don't know this, but like, when you're having a heart attack and you go to the hospital, how do they fix it? Like, what do they do? Give him a stent?
I think they did. I'm not sure. I was 16 at the time. And also, everyone that said, we'll tell you when you're older is dead. They all died pretty quick. And I'm like, what about that shit you were going to tell me? Where's the treasure buried? So,
oh my God.
I think they did. I think they put a stent in, and I'm not sure if they did the whole removing veins from your leg. They rebuild veins, arteries, things like that. But he was in there for almost a week, I want to say, and then they let him out. And a couple relatives have told us that they gave them a heads up that there were some clots.
Oh, he had clots.
So he was released with clots.
Okay, what does that mean?
That means that he was on blood thinners, but he was clotting in his arteries and stuff.
Is that normal?
That's maybe for after a heart attack, but I'm not sure. It's not normally normal.
Why did they let him go then?
We don't know that. So the weekend is Thanksgiving weekend, and my aunt, my grandmom's sister, my great aunt, we were all a very close extended family. She lives in Baltimore City, not far from the hospital. So we all decide we're going to have Thanksgiving there for the weekend. And we're all, there's a pile of us packed into this little row home in Highlandtown, and we spend the weekend there. And then on Sunday, we go back to our home. And we were still off Monday, I think, because of the Thanksgiving weekend. And that night, I remember we got blamed for this party that was my brother and I at this kid's house. I'm like, Dad, we were there. Like, it was his fucking party. You know? Which his parents later invited us over for dinner. And I was like, oh my God. And they were like, we just want you to know. And I was like, oh yeah, because your son's a fuck up. So I remember he was bummed. He was like a little disappointed or whatever. And the night went fine. And then he was laying on the couch watching the TV here, and I always stayed up late. But that night, I went to bed probably around 11:45, which is early for me. I'm a 1, 2 in the morning,
same.
you know? And I stopped. Everything's different when you look back after someone passes. You see all these little things
Signs,
that yeah. And I stopped, and I turned around, and I looked at him. And I just looked at him, and then I went to bed. And
was
then,
he breathing?
Yeah, he was totally fine. And then in the morning, my brother shook me awake. He says twice. Now, I guess I woke up once and didn't even know what was going on. And he shook me again. And he's like, I don't think Dad's breathing. And my brother and I are like, what? Because my twin brother and I shared a room. My younger brother had his own. And my dad's is right next to us. He's a single dad. It's just us there by ourselves. And we go like, look. And you could see him like laying halfway in and out of his bed.
He was in bed?
This is our best guess, that he probably was having some chest pains and went to lay down. That's what we figure may have happened. And the best way I can describe it is like if the headboard's up here and the feet are down here, he sort of sat on the bed like this, like, you know, you sit in the middle of the bed, tie your shoe, whatever, and then fell back. So he's laying like that. And you could see, I don't know if anyone's been through this, but you could, now we know that what he had been dead a while, because what you could see was, if you can visualize, he had his shirt off. And if you look at a body horizontally, if you were just to draw a line right in half of it, from the middle of that down was blood. Blood had settled. It was very maroon and dark. Well, we didn't know what the fuck that was at the time. We didn't know,
Where was the blood?
Settled. So if he's laying on his back, you're seeing from here down all the way across his body.
Is a dark line of
just
blood.
In gravity, yes. If you can imagine, if I'm making sense.
I see what you mean.
If you drew a line to a person this way, you know.
So you could see a line of white and then red.
Yes, okay. Look like a bad sunburn, like the bottom half of your body.
Because it wasn't being pulled through the veins.
It just dropped and settled.
Okay.
So we go in, and his eyes are open, and he's got a little bit of blood on his lip, and then some on a big toe. So we don't know if he bit his tongue or spit some up. We don't know. And you know, your heart is racing. First of all, this is our dad, who is the shit, and it's the only parent that gave a fuck about us, and everything's going through your head. So I am hearing like what I think it might be gurgling, and so maybe, I don't know. My brother runs next door and gets the guy. That young dude worked at UPS. Shout out to UPS, Baltimore Hub, Primary 1, Joe Avenue. And he comes over and he's like, guys, I don't know. Hey, poor dude's panicking. He's like, I can't tell if that's your dad's heart or my heart, because your heart just...
Why didn't you call 911 right away?
We called 911, but what ended up happening was, so obviously he's gone. But
you didn't know. You thought maybe he was still alive?
No, you knew. You knew. I mean, after the panic goes away in a minute, you realize, like, fuck.
I feel like you can always tell by the eyes.
Yeah, and they were looking, through you. They weren't
looking
there.
at you, yeah.
And so
Ryan, this is hard. You were 16?
Yeah. The ambulance shows up, and what they tell us is he has been deceased for a while, and they can't take a dead body. The coroner has to come. So now they leave us in the house with the dead body, my dad's dead body. And it's just me and my two brothers. And we've called relatives. They made us lie to our grandmom because she couldn't drive, and she was home stuck freaking out that her son is just, they said, they lied to her and said they took him to the hospital. So, how
old was your dad?
Wasn't true. He was 42. Yeah, I know. It trips me out that I'm older than my father ever was.
42 years old?
Yeah. I always say I want to be something my dad never was, and that's an old man.
Was he heavy?
No. I mean, he was probably 15, 20 overweight, but he wasn't obese or wasn't out of shape. He was crew chief at Pan Am at National Airline. Well, at Pan Am at National Airport, which is now Ronald Reagan. But no, he was out there working all the time, but stressing, divorced. Single parent, working nonstop double shifts, driving from Baltimore to DC and back. There's no cell phones back then. What the fuck's going on with my kids? Are they all right? All that shit. Not eating well, doing the quick thing, which I fall habit of all the time. Yeah. So
how long had he been out of the hospital before this happened?
Oh.
So he had gone
maybe like 3 days.
Only 3 days?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It wasn't long. It wasn't long. It was like he got out of the hospital, I want to say, on like maybe like right before Thanksgiving, like the day before, like the Wednesday. And then we spent through Saturday at my aunt's just to not drive long or move them around, just let them chill, and then drove back on that Sunday. And then
Why
that
didn't
Monday.
they keep him longer?
That's what everybody started asking. So, he's dead. We're now in the house waiting. Our uncle's on his way, which is his brother. Our grandmother's freaking out. We've called our close family friends who are on their way over to help us. And I close my dad's eyes and I cover him up. And I just remember my twin brother just laying on him, just sob. I mean, man, I'll never forget that. And I just let him have it, take it. And then I went to my room and I laid face down on my bed and my pillow, and I just fucking I just let it loose. I screamed and screamed and screamed and screamed. And my brother kept saying, "What's going to happen to us?" And I just kept saying, "We're going to be fine. We'll be fine." And I wasn't wrong about that. We're fine.
Where was your
maybe
mom?
Not mentally. My mom at the time, literally at the time, was at work. We called her at her job to tell her. But my mom and my dad didn't get along great. My mom also didn't. My mom left. My mom didn't like me.
Same, yeah.
You know, that whole deal. And she lived a few miles away, but only really wanted something to do with my younger brother. Didn't care for the two of us.
Did she talk to you?
No. Not then. I mean,
you guys
look,
never stayed
we
with
do.
her.
We have reconnected and talked. No, God, she didn't even want me to know where she lived. She was like, "Don't tell your brother." And then my parents ended up going to court, and my mom, in a long story short, said, "I want my youngest son, my twin son Derek. He can come if he wants. I don't want Ryan." And my dad was like, "Well, I want all my kids, but if you're going to, give her custody just because she's the mom, then unfortunately, I think it's best they're together."
Mm-hmm.
And the judge was a lady judge and a female judge, and she gave my dad full custody in 1989 and made my mom pay him child support.
Good.
Mm-hmm. In
That's
89.
Right. Good.
So
good. Because she was like,
she's not around.
What kind of mom says I want one kid and not the other? The judge was probably like, what the fuck?
The judge said, "I have been doing this for years and years, and I've never once heard a mother say, 'I don't want my kid.'" Yeah, so
anyway,
that's a whole
another can of
so that's why we're with my dad alone, and
it's just you and your brother, right? The only two
both
kids?
brothers. Yeah,
you have two brothers.
I have a younger one too, so he's
twins,
almost
and then one younger brother.
Exactly.
Okay. And where was he?
He's the one that found my dad in bed. He came into our room to wake us up because he was 12, and he's like,
God, 12.
He's like, get up. So then a priest comes from our local church back then, and does last rites, a Catholic thing.
Yep.
And then the coroners come, and at this point, there's a few neighbors or family friends who've come. I think few other people were there. My mom is actually there. Someone drove her, and they ask us to step out on our balcony or our deck while they carry the body out of the house. So I just remember peeking through and seeing the body bag go by and just thinking like, "Oh my fucking God." And then they take him away and they say that it's a heart attack. But what's really fucking weird, and we can come back and talk more about it if you'd like. What's crazy is at 42, when I was 42, 5 years ago, my daughter's just born. She's a year old, and I split. Her mom and I split, and I'm in my own place, and all of a sudden, I'm getting these chest pains, and I'm like, man, fuck, this is actually. Excuse me, I'm wrong. It wasn't chest pains first. I was watching the first Star Wars. One of the newer ones where they kill Han Solo, right? Mm-hmm. That one. I don't know what it's called. Sorry for the spoiler. Mm-hmm. And I'm just rubbing my legs. I feel something weird through my jeans, and it's like my veins, and it feels like a topographical map. Like I can feel the veins through my denim, and
like they're standing up.
Yeah, and I'm like, what the fuck's going on? It's a little sore, and I call the hospital, and I just went through this crazy round of kidney stones and all this brutal shit, and they weren't getting it, and all these things. Then both my legs start clotting. And when I called the hospital, like, "It sounds like you're clotting. You need to get back here right now." So I went back to the ER, and like they're asking me, like, "Are you being abused at home?" And I'm like, "Do you think someone let some chick beat me up?" Like we have to ask. But I mean, my legs they're black and blue, both of them, and they're like, it's rare that it goes from one to another, is what they're telling me, and This is going on for 6 months. They can't figure out what the fuck is going on with me. And my regular doctor does this blood test, and it's called Factor V. He tested me for. It's popular, but it's not something you even like. You could have it right now. I could have had it till I was 100, and died. There are people who have absolutely died, never knew they had it because nothing arose. It's just something that lies dormant, and then if it does, it does. And the kidney stones is sort of what prompted it on me. And my doctor is like, look, I don't want you to freak out, but I have to send you to an oncologist. I don't know what this is. I'm like, fuck. So as I've split with my daughter's mother, which was devastating, which is why I was like, I don't know about ranking the trauma.
Right.
I'm also a brand new dad of a 1-year-old. I'm also a brand new single dad. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Right.
And I'm sure a lot of it had to do with stress and anxiety and then moving and trying to get set up in a new home and then trying to get a routine together. I've just, we just had this whole routine with this newborn over here. Now I got to do it myself. And I don't have neighbors that I can go, hey, if I forget something at the grocery store, we're going back to the motherfucking grocery store. It's not like, hey, can you watch her for 10 minutes? They've got a family unit. Like I was saying, Lana and her family are next door and they're amazing. So they've always had that resource. And I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to embrace this and I'm going to figure out the best way to do it. But I'm having all these crazy health problems and I'm going to urology. It's 6 months. I'm going to these specialists nonstop. I mean, it cost me thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars and time, and I'm leaving jobs and shit to go do this. And the crazy thing was, it was my first booked headline weekend at the Brea Improv, and I'm in the shower on a Saturday. I'm doing the Saturday and Sunday after Christmas. And I fell to my knees. I had never felt pain like that. And I had my daughter's mother at the time, I was still there, take me to the hospital. And that's when they told me what was happening. So now I've got these crazy side effect issues of all this shit. And I don't know what's going on. They're flushing my body nonstop with fluids and trying to figure out what's going on. And then I go to this oncologist and he's like, look, I don't know. I don't know if you have leukemia. I don't know if you have lymphoma. But what I will tell you is I have what you have. And it's called Factor V Leiden. Okay. And he's like, it's a hereditary blood disorder. It's very popular in Europeans of European descent. If you have it from both parents, it's very bad. And fortunately, I only have it from one. I had reconnected with my mom, and I had to tell her and both my brothers, you need to go get tested. And the doctors even said to him, you want to open up that can of worms? Because it's like, they got to know. Now, the reason I also need to know, and my brothers need to know, is because we have daughters. And if they have it, then things like birth control pills can cause clots and can kill them.
Right.
Bed rest. I have to get up and walk like every 90 minutes. I'm the guy on the plane now in the back. I got to get up. I got to wear compression pants. I got to go in the back of the plane, stand every like 90 minutes, stretch, move around, because I can clot sitting still for long periods of time. Yeah. So if you're pregnant and you're on bed rest and you're on bed rest for days, you could clot and die. So they have to know if you have this.
Wow.
Fortunately, it's only, so they all get tested like, we don't have it. I'm like, you're telling me our dead dad and me, like these are the two.
Your dad had it?
He had to have it. It's hereditary.
Yeah.
So
that's probably
they're also testing me for what I'm saying is leukemia and lymphoma. And I finally go back, and I've been through hell. I am emotional. I am just like, what are you about to tell me? I have cancer? Like, what is going on? And the nicest nurse came in. She goes, how do you feel? I go, I just kind of want to get this over with, because the waiting period's 2 weeks to find out if you have the shit, and the whole time you're like, oh
yeah, all fucking day you're like, I have cancer, I have this, I have that, yeah. And
the lady goes, I can tell you it's not cancer. I'm like, oh,
thank God.
Thank God. And she's like, how do you feel? And I go, I just feel relieved. And she goes, listen to me, go celebrate. And I'm like, yeah, no shit, right? And she goes, listen to me, go celebrate. She goes, my job every single day is to tell people they have cancer. And today I got to tell someone they didn't. You go celebrate that. And I was like, okay, I'll celebrate. Gosh. So come to find out, what you had said is I start talking to my doctor, and I'm like, hey, is there a chance that my father didn't die of a heart attack and actually died from the clots that he was released with? And since it's hereditary and he obviously had it because my mother doesn't, that I have it. And that's what it was. And he's like, it's very possible. Like we can't go back. And what he also told me is like, 1989, anyone that died young, they just ruled it a heart attack. They're finding more, technology and equipment, everything's advancing, knowledge, and they're finding more and more that a lot of those people probably died of clots.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's a good chance.
So are you on blood thinners or what are you on?
I was only on it to get me back to normal. He said, look, I think this is an isolated incident. I have it. Like he said, the only reason, he's like, I'm a blood doctor. My brother had it. So I tested myself and I'm like, holy shit, I have. And he's like, I'm in my 50s. I didn't even know I had it. I've never had an incident. He goes, I do believe you won't have another incident. So he put me on blood thinners to get me set back to basically zero. Because I don't know what the number is, but if it's like a 70, it's high. I was in like the 200s or some shit. And he's like, I'm a little worried. And I was like, you are. And then
Can it kill you?
Yeah. He gave me his personal cell phone number. I go, Jesus Christ. I go, listen, can I tell you this is the most scared I've ever been in my life? He goes, what do you mean? I go, a fucking cancer doctor just said, hit me up if you need me on the weekend.
Yeah. What doctor says text me?
I said, holy shit,
God.
I'm scared.
That's scary.
So I end up, we figure it, but I tell you, it took 6 or 7 months of just pure, and it was, I had gained weight, I was just stressing out. So finally got that all figured out and then was able to, but the whole time I'm working, I'm doing shows, I'm doing podcasts the whole time. But that was a release for me. Like stand up for me, especially, and even podcasting. Like right now, I feel great telling you about it. I don't feel like I felt during it.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
But
it is
plus you're really
worst.
easy to talk to.
I love you.
You're a good listener.
Yeah.
I love you too. And it's just stand up's a release. I don't ever, no matter what's going on in my life, even during them when I was on stage, not a blip of any of that shit went through my head.
Yeah. Fuck, dude. Wait. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, guys, and we're going to be right back with Ryan Sickler on Worst First. Stay tuned.
Since so many of us are stuck at home, it's only a matter of time until you run out of stuff to watch on Netflix. Trust me, I have. But you haven't reached the end of Netflix. What do I mean? Well, there is a whole bunch more Netflix you have yet to see that would be like UK Netflix, Japan Netflix, all kinds of other different types of Netflix in other countries. How do you access these Netflixes, you say? Well, look no further than ExpressVPN. You just fire up the ExpressVPN app, change your location to wherever you want, say the UK, refresh Netflix, and that's it. You're in Netflix UK. Same thing with Japan and same thing with everywhere else. It opens up a whole new door to you just laying in your bed watching hours and hours and hours on more streaming sites. There you go. ExpressVPN for you. It's easy, it's used, and guess what? There's no lag, there's no buffering, and you can stream in HD no problem. It's ridiculously fast. It's compatible with all your devices, including your phone, your media console, your smart TV, and more. So you can watch what you want on a personal device or on the big screen, wherever you are. If you visit my special link right now, expressvpn.com/worst, you can get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN for free. That's again, expressvpn.com/worst, WORST, for an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN free. Thank me later.
Okay, we're back. Oh my God, I didn't even want to take a break because this is so, I'm worried about you now. Okay, so now what do you do to make sure you're okay? Do you have to go to regular checkups and whatnot?
No, this is what I'm saying. It's one of those weird things. Like I have it, I'm aware I have it. So I just have to be conscious. Like long drives, that getting in the car and rolling straight to San Francisco shit's out for me anymore.
You got to get out of the car.
I got to get out, walk around, stretch my legs, a little blood flow.
Yeah.
Same with planes. I have to get up. So he told me, if I go to the East Coast, my ritual for the East Coast, I have to wear the compression pants. He's telling me all this shit. I'm like, are you telling me I got to wear pantyhose? He's like, they're not pantyhose, dude. They're like the shit you see the guys run with at the track. And I'm like, okay, all right.
I love compression stockings. They help with cellulite for girls.
Do they?
So just in case any girls out there,
any sponsors want to sponsor the HoneyDew or Worst First for compression pants,
because that's what it is. It's like not enough blood flow to the. That's why it keeps it all in. Yeah. So you wear them on the plane.
I have to wear them on planes, and then I also take aspirin before I fly just to thin my blood a little bit. And then honestly, the flights have been they've they've helped a little bit because it breaks it up. I'm like, 90 minutes, I got to get up and walk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that flight feels a little different.
How long do you walk for?
I just get up and I walk to the back, and then I literally stretch. I stand in the corner. I'm like,
and everyone's like, "There's that guy."
Yep.
Fuck,
I'm like,
you're that fucking.
And to the side. 3, 4. I got them all going.
Like, this guy's doing fucking aerobics on the plane. Like,
I'm doing 1-arm push-ups. Like,
I hate
somebody
that.
hum the Rocky theme. So yeah.
I hate that guy, but now it's like weird because I know that you need to do it.
Guarantee you, those people in the back probably
have a reason.
I'll bet you they have. They're not just.
I'm like, God, the fucking ADD can't even fucking sit still for 5 minutes. Gotta do,
Got any Canada Dry? I love ginger ale on flights, but never any other time. I don't know what it is.
I always get so annoyed, but now it's good to know that it's for a reason.
Yeah.
God,
these assholes in the back might be fucking dying and landing your plane early. You know what I'm saying?
I'm like, don't ruin my fucking trip, Gina. I swear, you take all the laps you want.
We ain't going down to Kansas City, man. Come on.
Make that bitch walk. Let's see. Work, bitch, work.
Slap everybody's hand on the high five. Run by. That's what I want to do. I want to do it to the whole plane.
It's funny if you just runway walk like
or do starting athletes like, and now, yeah.
Wow.
So I do that, and I get up for like maybe 5 minutes. I go back there. I also go into the restrooms a lot. And while I'm in there, I'm stretching my legs as much as I can and like rolling. And while I sit in my chair, I roll my feet and do that kind of shit too. So that's
so crazy. I actually have the opposite blood disorder of you.
Oh, so that's what I learned. I have factor 5. Your factor, I think it might be 8 if you have thin blood that runs.
That doesn't clot.
You should go. Have you ever been checked?
I went to an oncologist. So I went through, and I'll show you pictures. I went through a point, and I still have some bruises right now, but I went through a point where my entire legs were covered in bruises. And I have Mediterranean anemia. So my dad figured, you're anemic like your mom and your dad because they're both Italian, the whole fucking double
That's
Mediterranean
what my whole
shit is. Yeah.
Family blood
fucks you up. So I had anemia, and then it started getting really bad where like my entire legs were covered. There was almost like not even a clear spot, right? So I went to the regular doctor, and he was like, this is not normal. Like, this isn't like just an iron deficiency. Something's wrong. So he sent me to an oncologist, and then there's me thinking I have cancer, right? And he checks my blood. He sends me for what you have. He sends me for all that other stuff. And then they find out that I have, I forget the name of it, but basically what it means is my platelets in my blood aren't sticky.
Right.
So
you don't clot.
I don't clot. So he told me, he's like,
super dangerous for you.
So dangerous. He's like, if you ever get in a car accident, they have to be so careful because you're just gonna bleed out. I don't clot at all. So like if I get surgery, they have to know ahead of time.
Yes, these are all things they have to know. Surgery for me too, because I could be laying there for 4 hours and a clot, kaboom.
Right. So mine's the opposite. So it's actually so scary, and there's nothing you can do. Like I can't take anything for it.
Nothing. There's nothing really dietary you can do. It's just a blood condition.
It's just a blood condition, and it's so weird. And I was scared like you. I was like, oh my God, I have fucking cancer. Especially because I was going through a really traumatic breakup at the time, and I was getting super thin and not really hungry. And I was like, oh my God, what if it's like fucking cancer? And I'm like, got all these bruises. And it's weird how trauma and like stress trigger it, It's weird. So, but I haven't, thank God. I'm like, where's some wood? Here it is. Knock on wood. I haven't had the crazy bruising since then. And it's not like I did anything different, but it's scary, right? Like you get
scary because I know the ultimate result was in that bedroom when I saw, and then we have to go to our grand. So back to that. Now the body's out of the house, and now we got to go to my grandmom's house, and she is just. I mean, she's already found out. There's people in the home. It's not good. She is devastated, and this is her firstborn, and
he's young.
He's 42, yeah. And, it's funny because we used to bust her because we had to end up living with her, and we used to bust her balls. Like, she would always cry, like, he's never going to drive up the hill anymore. And we'd be like, Grandma, Jesus, it's like Elvis. Let him rest. Let him rest in peace. But that was our dad. As a parent now, I would tell my kids the same thing, like, shut the fuck up. You know what I mean? Let me more. And I get it now. And I'm not even going to lie. There's been some nights where I cried for my grandmom. Like I replay those conversations in my head of her saying little things like he's never going to drive up Elm Road again. He's never going to walk up the steps and smile and come in the store. And I was like, and I just put myself in her shoes and my daughter. And then I just started crying for my grandma. I'm like, I'm so sorry that happened to you. It's so hard to get outside yourself, especially when you're 16. Like it's not like, you know, this is what happened to me, but I forget that you lost a son. You know, it's always the hardest for the person who dies. Obviously, a lot of people don't think about it, but like, yes, it's traumatic for you. You lost that person, but that person lost everyone. They're dying. They lost everyone.
And the thing about death that's so scary is like, we just don't know what I like to think that, like, you know, we're souls and we're in this body for now, and then like our soul is free and that kind of thing. But I mean, we don't know, you know. Do you talk to your dad like still? Or
I do. I talk to my dad. I have. So my grandmother lived in Baltimore. She lived at 1111 Elm Road, and in well, you're from Philly, so you know the brick with the address that's on that white little diagonal thing. That was 1111.
Oh, cool.
And
1111 supposed to be good luck.
It is. Yeah. I mean, I don't know about for them.
Yeah,
you know, but maybe for the people that don't live in that house. But I went back one night. I was visiting in Baltimore, and I was pretty shit-faced, and a friend took me over, and we had a little military Jeep in the back of his shovel, and I was like, I'm getting it. And I snuck up there, and I pried that shit out of 50-some years of rebar and brick, and I got it. And I painted it, and I have it over my door in my house, and that's my little. Right now? Oh yeah, that's my little good luck on the way out, like out of the locker room. You know.
Oh yeah, you're all.
That's my Apollo stuff. You know, it's like, so yeah, I still talk to him, and there's other things too. Like as I got older, I realized like, hey, I never said you're welcome to come in here. Like if spirits and shit are real, oh, you're welcome to come in and be present in this place. You know, I don't know how any of it works.
Did you ever have any like spiritual things happen, like where you were kind of like, oh, that's dad, or like anything like that?
Yeah, all the time. I don't know if I would say spiritual, but I constantly see 1111. I'm sure I'll end up seeing it tonight. You know, I'll just turn and boom, it'll be on the oven. I still talk about it. You don't know when trauma's going to hit you. Like there'll be a time where it's a regular day. Like I'll leave here today and go to the grocery store and open up the frozen food section, grab a pizza, and there'll be a song that comes on. I'm like, oh my God.
I know.
You know, like
triggered out of nowhere.
I'll tell you this story. Here you go. Here's one. So the second dead body I ever saw, let's go, because when you say first, it implies there's more than one.
Right.
And there is for me, unfortunately. So at this time, my father ends up being buried a few days later, which happens to be my younger brother Todd's 13th birthday. We're not sure who the fuck organized this, but we're doing ham and birthday cake. You know what I mean? We're doing a doubling up on a wake and a cake.
A wake and a cake,
girl.
No. It's horrible. So horrible. I'm like so sad right now. I'm like,
that's our new story. Fuck cowboy boots.
Title this episode "Awake in a Cake." Okay, Daniel, put that in there. Awake in a Cake with Ryan Sickler.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Isn't the beautiful thing about life though is even in the most tragic shit you can like
this is what my whole podcast is about. HoneyDew, highlighting the lowlights.
Yeah. So second dead body. Let's go.
We're on our way.
Get a sip of this kombucha real quick.
So now my dad's dead. My mom's still not around. My grandmom comes she comes up from Baltimore to stay with us for a few months. And the choice, basically, we're all minors. So the choice is we can go live with our mom and stay in the same high school and everything. And right now, our friends, our sports teams, our everything, like being 16 and having to go to a brand new school and know no one and start all over, and we don't even have a mom. Like it would have been
the worst.
It would have been the worst. It would have been devastating. So, or we can go live with our grandmom again, you know, by the city, and we just want to stay with our friends. It's all we have. So we decide that we're going to move into our mom's place. She reluctantly wants us to come, and she's in a 2-bedroom. So she's got her bedroom, and then the three of us share one bedroom from 10th through 12th grade.
How did you do that? 2 bunk beds and a single bed?
They had bunk beds. The closest I got to my own room before I was 21. I didn't get my own room until I was 21. Actually, that's not true. My grandmom's till I was 18. They were in bunk beds, my younger brother and twin brother, and I was in a twin bed right next to him. So we turn 18. My mom kicks us out. Keeps my younger brother, but throws us out. So my dad's mom takes us. I know.
She's so shady.
My dad's mom takes us in. And then that's when things like really change, because I don't know what your experience was with grandparents, but I used to love, there were always smells. Like there was always sauce going. There was always a special smell at my grandparents'
houses are so comforting.
Yes.
Like it's just, I remember it sometimes, like even because Tommy smokes and my grandfather smoked, and like he'll be cooking and I'll walk into the kitchen. I'll be like, oh my God, it's my grandparents' house. Like the cigarette smoking, the, you know, the sauce on the stove, you know. Yeah.
So
grandma.
But once you live with your grandmom, that smell goes away pretty quickly.
Really?
And the special...
Yeah, the special.
That hug that feels like you're walking into is just not there anymore. Now you're living and you're all dealing with it. We're dealing with this. And, I remember my grandma going, you calm down. I can see you're calming down a little bit being away from your mom. Cause I was super, like we were just going, you hate me. You don't want me and I have to be here. So, and the whole time my mom is collecting Social Security and all these things because we're under, we're minors, and she's keeping it. She takes a P.O. box out so we can't get it. And when I turned 18 in March of 91, I sat on the phone for 2 hours and made sure that shit came to me and my brother. And that was like the last straw for her. And then she kicked us out after we graduated.
Wow.
But she wasn't there. She would go to her boyfriend's on like the whole week. So the three of us took care of each other. We had no parents. We went to school every day. We were never late. We played sports year round. I mean, people came over and our house was the party house.
Right.
Like, oh man, it was the party house. Everyone. But parents knew we were good kids, and the parents let their kids. I'm still friends with a lot of these people. I go, hey, would you ever let your kids? And they just come like, no, I would never let them do the shit our parents let us do. But the parents' rule was, if your grades suffer, if you're not at school, it's not happening.
Right.
And we made sure, no matter how hard we partied or whatever we did, that those grades stayed up and we were at school all the time. It's all we had to do. It's not that hard to do those two fucking things.
Right.
Especially if you're getting this kind of freedom,
Right.
So we take care of ourselves. We're 16. He's 13. We're signing each other's permission slips. She would come home on like a Sunday, do laundry, throw a couple, we grew up on Martin's potato rolls, ham and cheese, Reese's peanut butter cups, Doritos, and like frozen or pizza shells with Don Pepino pizza sauce, some Old Bay, and that was about it. And
so
it was
you guys
fast
had
food
to make
all
your
the time.
own food all the time.
It was fast food was most. We would order pizza from this place called American Pizza. Like, hey, what's up, Ryan? Like when you, yeah, they're like, we'll bring you out there in a little bit. Like, thanks, guys.
They're like, damn, y'all ain't even. Nobody's cooking for you. Nothing. Not even a fucking pot roast. Nothing.
We get out. We now live with our grandma. I'm in community college. I've just taken lifeguard courses and classes at the Y so I can do a third summer job and shit. Cause there's, we don't have money. And my grandmom comes out of her bedroom. My brother and I are there and she screams, somebody help me. And my grandmom falls on her face. I mean, literally on her face and collapses. And before she even hits, I'm already on 911. And I know she's having a heart attack. It's in the fucking family, and this is not good.
She literally said, somebody help me, and fell forward.
Remember, we talk about how things are different. My grandmother used to leave her bedroom door cracked, and she'd be like, I'm going to take 5. And she would lay across her bed and just take a 10-minute power nap, 15-minute power nap. Well, that day, the door was closed, and I couldn't see in. And, yeah, she came out, clutched her chest like massive. But I'll tell you what I found out later, but she dropped. So I'm on with 911. My brother's at the top of the stairs where she is. He doesn't know what to do. So I'm telling the lady on the phone, like, look, I'm a lifeguard. I can do this. I can do CPR. I can do all this. So he comes down. She won't let anyone off the phone. She's like, someone has to stay on with me till the paramedics get there. So I go up. And now I'm giving my fucking grandmother CPR. I'm giving her mouth to mouth, and I'm just like,
did you know what you were doing?
I did, yeah. I just got out of the classes. I'm doing the staying alive, the compressions, and I'm doing all that. And I'm like, there's a thought that goes through my head for a second, like, God, please save her so I can.
You can say, like,
I remember that, Grandma. Should I let you go to the other side?
Yeah.
I could have let you go to the other side.
Yeah, you saved her life. Yeah.
And I could see a little bit of color come back to her face. She was gasping. She would go like that every so often. That started happening more. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm getting.
Was she conscious?
Her eyes were definitely open. She was conscious, but she's, and at this point too, my grandmother's got this picture like you over here of Jesus on her wall. And I'm in between her and Jesus, and I'm over her face, and I'm fucking giving my grandmother mouth to mouth. And I'm just in it.
Were you crying or anything?
No, I'm knock on wood again. I'm very good and very good. It slows down, and afterwards, when I process, it's when I start to have the stress and stuff. But good in the situation, nailed it. The paramedics get there, they grab her, they bring her downstairs, they throw her on the floor, they just throw your furniture out of the way. You know, they're not gentle. They're trying to save a life. And I'll be honest, it's gross because they ripped her shirt off and you're seeing all that. And I have never liked those fucking paddles. I'd never seen anyone have them. Just on TV, the way the body would, and they're doing that to her in front of us, and I'm like, oh my, I'm like my
they're
brother
shocking
and I are,
her.
yeah, and they're fucking
God, Ryan, you've had so much trauma.
But she gets a lot of color back to her, and then my cousin had showed up, and my brother and my cousin go with her to the hospital. I'm back. You have to give a report. You know, they're taking all the information or whatever. And then they leave, and I call my brother at the hospital. There's no cell phones or anything then. And I'm like, how is she? And he's like, I think she's going to be okay. And I was like, oh my God, thank God. So I start putting the house back together. And then he calls me and tells me she died. And I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me. So I have to call my younger brother and tell him she died. And this is just a couple years after my dad's died. And
how old was your grandma?
69.
Young.
And
oh my God.
Now we have to go to the hospital. And, yeah, you should cross yourself, girl.
Please, God.
And
it's horrible.
They say, would you like to say goodbye to your grandmother? I'm like, yeah.
So was she on life support? Is that what was happening, or no? She just completely done?
Britt, we fucking walk back there. They have her covered in like that blue like hospital sheet. The fucking tube thing they stick in your mouth where they left it in there. They left it in there like that. She had that in her mouth when we went to see her. And my brother's crying. He's like, what should we say? So we just all hugged each other, the three of us, and held hands, and we thanked her out loud in the room. Like, Dad's dead. You're the only person that took us in, you know, like just, oh. So, so she dies. And
she's so lucky you guys were there and she wasn't there alone. Can you imagine dying alone?
No,
like
and
that?
finding her, and like, you know, and so one of the neighbors at the other wake and cake came over, and there also was a real part too. I'm telling you, this is after they tell me she's dead, I'm just beside myself, and of course it takes you right back to your trauma of your dad was only a couple years ago, and now this person who loved you and adored you is gone too. Like, holy shit. And I go up the steps, I'm putting the house back together, and I see this shit on the carpet. And I'm just going to be real with you. I start looking at it, and it's her teeth. She fell like so limp. Her arms were down by her side. She went straight down on her nose. Her nose was as black as your mixer right here. It broke everywhere. Her teeth broke out of her mouth.
Were they her real teeth?
Yeah. And for weeks when I cleaned her home, I would hear them rattle in the fucking vacuum because you can't get all them little porcelain fucking pieces. So I'm picking her teeth out of the fucking carpet, and I look up, and there's that goddamn picture of Jesus tilted like this. And I started laughing, and I was like, oh my God, I think Grandma was trying to look at Jesus.
Not at you. Stop.
My big head's in the way, giving her mouth. And I think Jesus was trying to see her too. Like, I'm trying to, you know.
He's like, it's okay. Look at me. Don't look at his big head. Oh my God, don't look at his big head. Look at me, Grandma. Look at me.
God damn. Why'd I make him with such a big head?
Son, get down further doing the CP.
And
it was tilted.
It was totally tilted. And I laughed at that moment and then went back to crying. But I've still thought about that. Like, poor Grandma just trying to see her Lord and Savior on her way out, not mine.
You say she's watching your goofy ass face.
Yeah.
I'm doing it right.
I'm a dunner, motherfucker.
I learned this at the YMCA, Grandma. I'm going to save you.
I just want to see Jesus.
Bitch, just let me die. Like, fuck.
Yep.
Dude.
And then we had her fucking funeral, and then...
heart attacks are my biggest fear. Because I get chest pain constantly. I'm having chest pain right now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have chest pain constantly because of anxiety. They say it's anxiety. I go to my cardiologist once a month for him to be like so annoyed by me. He's like, I guarantee your heart for the next 20 years. Get the fuck out of my office.
I go twice a year. I go every 6 months to get full physicals. Because I'm also on medication that can fuck with your kidneys and liver, but I go every 6 months. I don't fuck around. And I have been since my 20s.
I just don't believe doctors, like when they tell you you're okay. Because like I know how I feel, and I'm like, fuck, I feel this pain like right here, and I feel all the time. I'm like, there's no way it's anxiety. Like it's my heart. And he tells me I'm fine.
Well, this is what the oncologist said to me too when I talked to him, and I was appreciative of this. I said, look, I'm here also because everyone in my family always says doctors don't know what they're talking about and they're dead. He goes, but they're right. He goes, they're right in the sense that we are still learning and we may give bad advice sometimes, and it does happen. So I said, okay, fine. It's fair enough to question doctors, but you got to come in to see them and question them. You don't stay home like, I don't know what they're talking about. You got to go in and get that ringing endorsement.
But what's really scary is the last time I went to my doctor about a week ago because I was having really bad chest pain again. I have it really bad to the point where I like almost double over, and it's crazy. And they say it's anxiety, but I still don't believe them. But anyway, I go to the doctor, I get all the blood work done, you get the EKG, they do everything, and they're like, you're fine. And then his nurse, who's his assistant, tells me this crazy story, and he goes, I will tell you this one crazy story. And I'm all, what's that? And I'm thinking he's going to make me feel better, right? I think he's going to like reassure me.
Yeah, like, let me help you out.
Yeah, and I'm like, I can't wait for this like reassurance, And then so he goes, I used to work at this other doctor's office, another cardiologist. And I'm like, oh, really? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, this guy came in, he had crazy chest pain. He said, I think I'm having a heart attack. And he said, we hooked him up to the EKG machine. We took his blood. Doctor said he was fine. He was just stressed. And he said, go home. And then the guy walked out into the parking lot and died.
And they fired me. And that's how you got here. That's
and
a terrible
I said,
fucking...
thanks for that.
Yeah.
I was like, what was that supposed to do? Like, I'm already here thinking I'm dying. And then I message my doctor and I'm like asking him all these questions. And I'm like, what's my cholesterol level? Just curiously. And he says it's 216, which is high.
It is over 200 high, yeah.
High.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, isn't that kind of high?
Borderline, yes.
And he goes, no, don't worry about it.
You might want to go get a new doctor. A third opinion.
He said it's because your good cholesterol is high. I'm like, bro, I don't know about this. And I'm like having all this chest pain all the time. Like,
you know what they call the guy that finished last in medical school?
What?
Doctor. It don't matter, first or last. They're all called doctor. You know what I'm saying?
And he's like, it's fine. Stop worrying. Go outside.
Anybody got a C average? I'm happy with somebody just got a C average in medical school.
He's all, it's fine. Just go out, go play, go have fun. I'm like,
you're trying to get me to drop dead in your parking lot.
I was like, what's going to happen? Like, this doesn't seem right.
How hilarious would it be if you just clowned it and just in the parking lot gave him some drama?
I just go over there. So now I'm like,
He's like, dust off my resume.
I told my dad too. I was like, Dad, like my cholesterol level's high for a young girl, especially like I don't really eat meat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't eat like anything to make me have high cholesterol. I don't eat eggs. I don't eat like any of that shit. And he was like, yeah, but if the doctor says you're okay, then you got to listen to the doctor. And I'm like, fuck, kind of scary, right?
Yeah. The same doctor's giving us all this information about the coronavirus right now? Yeah, it keeps changing every 10 minutes.
Maybe I should go for a second
opinion. Go for a second opinion.
Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. That's true. Yeah, but how crazy is that? Like, doctors are always like, you never know, you know? They're just people. And they have bad days.
And that lady might be hustling out. That doctor might be hustling out to go do something that night. Like, I got plans with my girls. You're fine.
Don't worry about it. You're 30.
I got tickets to see Beyonce.
He knows I'm only 33, so he's probably like, she'll be fine. She's 33. Young. Meanwhile, I'm over here like,
right. And then she'll be like, I thought this 133-year-old patient I had was okay. Dropped dead in my parking lot. All right. That's why we're here at the shack. At my shack.
Okay, so your stories are making me say I'm going to go get a second opinion.
You should.
Yeah.
You should definitely.
Yeah, that's so crazy, dude. Oh, my God. So much insane trauma. Oh, my God. We're in an hour, and do you have to get up and take a walk? I'm worried. We've been sitting down for an hour.
Mini tramp. Bring my mini tramp in here.
We've been sitting down for an hour.
I got
Ryan, you're amazing. I love you so much.
I love you too. Thanks for
coming and sharing all this crazy story.
I'm so sorry about we had a little weird thing last time when I came and I couldn't get here, and it was an unfortunate another story. Yeah. Don't do drugs. Let's just say that.
Seriously, because this is like,
it can be deadly.
Not to say what happened, but like there's so many instances where young people, you know what I mean? It's just, you never know what's in it these days. That's the sad part is like, I don't touch anything. I don't drink. I don't smoke weed anymore. I don't do anything. Like, I'm just by the book now. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So just be careful, guys. Like, fuck. It's so sad. You never know. So, and like, look how short life is.
Tell me about it. I mean,
Life
look, I'm
is
47
fleeting.
and it feels like it's been a blink.
Right?
Even 33, I'm sure
33
feels like a blink.
and I'm like, I feel like I was 16 like 2 minutes ago.
They say the days are long, the years are short.
Yeah, my mentality's still 16, so that's
Me too, totally.
nothing's changed. Anyway, guys, follow Ryan Sickler. You got shows when Corona's over. Hopefully, you got shows coming up.
RyanSickler.com.
RyanSickler.com.
Everything's there.
Everything you need, and you're Ryan Sickler on Instagram too.
All social
Just Ryan
media, the
Sickler.
HoneyDew Podcast.
The HoneyDew Podcast
Subscribe
is such
to my
a good
YouTube,
podcast.
watch it.
Yep.
You're definitely coming back on.
I would love to, and Tommy's got to do it.
I want
he's
Tommy
got
on.
some
Oh,
HoneyDew
fuck
stories. Yeah.
Totally.
I love it. Okay, guys. Well, make sure to like and subscribe. Share this episode with your friends or anyone you think might get it or relate to it. And make sure to check out Ryan's YouTube channel. He's got a way better studio setup than me. It's way more professional. He's been doing this a long time, but yeah, make sure to follow Ryan on all social media. He's the best. And we will see you next week, hopefully, on Worst First. Bye.